I'm Bryan Miller, and welcome back to another episode of Acme's Funniest Person podcast, the podcast where we talk about an amateur comedy contest that's been going on for almost 35 years now. Produced a lot of great comics. We got one of them here. It's Jeff Pfoser.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
That's a solid intro.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I've done a few of them now. I'm starting to get it down. It's only took me 3 years.
Right on.
I think it was been 3 years of these.
Good.
So the fortuitous timing to do this podcast with you because you had your first night here. Was it a month ago?
Yeah, it was last month.
Last month was your first
hosting
one.
week.
This
Yeah.
is you did last night was your first night of your second hosting week.
Correct. Yeah.
Very
yeah.
nice. Very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
But this is I don't know if people can tell this. We're not as young as some of the other comics here.
Well, depends what kind of filter they have
I was
on.
gonna say. So because your contest and in general comedy journey did not start 2-3 years ago. I think Grant started maybe 5 years ago.
Sure.
What was it? 13? Did I hear you say earlier?
So I had to do a little research today. I spent 30 seconds preparing for this.
You beat me by 25 seconds.
And I looked up. The Facebooks told me that in late August of 2011,
Okay.
I made the top 25 list of semifinalists.
Ooh.
And so, which means I probably started comedy November of 2010.
Okay.
So this November 2024 will be 14 years for me.
All right.
Yeah.
So interesting. So you basically you started in November before the contest, basically.
Yeah,
of
so
1 year.
I was like within a year of doing comedy and jumped on this stage, and it
Right.
was wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so I always because I can never remember. You know how chronology goes. Like
Yeah.
in my mind, you've been around the whole time.
Sure.
But then I think about it. You kind of almost have.
A little bit.
I started in 2008, so
Okay, yeah.
only a couple of years before you.
Yeah, and I was poking around here just watching the open mics for
You were
a
pals.
few months.
Was it Gus Lynch that you kind of got into comedy through? Who was your comedy pal? Who did I see you hanging out with at first?
Well, Gus was one of the first because I went to an open mic in St. Paul. I can't remember the name of that place. It was somewhere in Frogtown. It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But he came he's very intimidating on stage.
Sure.
And just in general. But then one night he came up to me and he was like, "Hey, you're a new guy. There's a couple tips I have for you from
nice.
watching your set." And I was like, "Oh, well, nice to meet you." And then we kind of got chummy because we were older guys in our 30s with kids and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, he had a theater background, and then I just came out of nowhere. So he was one of the buddies at first. And then through him, I just got to know everybody. I got to jump on some festivals, probably too early on for what I was doing. But I learned a lot, and it's been great.
So what was the impetus to start? Like, what made you the first time that you actually went out and said, I'm doing an open mic?
So the catalyst was a friend of mine brought me here to Acme for an open mic. I didn't know the place existed.
Oh.
I'd never been here. I didn't know they had comedy open mics. I've done music open mics and stuff before.
Sure.
I have a background of playing music, but this was, I guess it was the summer of 2010.
Sure.
And I go, I guess I'll come to the open mic. So I showed up here, and it was, I think they were Monday nights at the time.
Yes.
I watched 20 comics come up on stage of all various levels.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I realized, like, oh, comedy can maybe be tried by people that aren't just the stars that I've seen on TV all my
Yeah,
life.
if you only see like Carson, how old am I?
Sure.
If you only see the Tonight
that-
Show
for
or like
me too.
Netflix and stuff like
Yeah.
that, you only see it done.
Yeah.
It's like if you only saw stunt work and it was like Hal Needham jumping out of a helicopter 100 stories, and you're like,
sure.
no, some guys just roll down a couple stairs. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
there's levels. You don't have to jump out of the helicopter.
100%. I mean, I only saw stuff on the variety shows, and I was like,
Sure.
this is you're born to do this.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no prep work to
Yeah.
this. And maybe when I was 12, I saw Louis Anderson on stage at the Guthrie, and then in my 20s, I saw Stephen Wright.
Sure.
At
But I mean,
another
obviously,
theater
these guys
show.
are like, well, that looks hard.
Yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, that's unattainable. And it
Especially
just-
Stephen Wright. You're
Oh
like,
my God,
well,
yeah.
no human being can do that.
No, that's just a different level of thinking.
Yeah. Still is. I still think no one's beaten him. But
I agree. I lost a buttonhole, the shortest, best joke ever.
Yeah.
And it's Stephen Wright.
No, right, it's
Yeah,
so
it's just
good.
like, how do you write better
I
and more
know.
succinct than that? It's fantastic. So I showed up here for the open mic, and so this is all coming full circle because the only comic I remember from that night was Shelby Organ.
oh, sure.
He closed out the night with the last spot, the 10-minute spot.
Sure.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this whole experience is amazing. Room full of people laughing.
Sure.
Amazing sound.
Did he do the cracker joke? Did he eat the cracker on stage?
100%.
One time I said to Chell, who's going to go on stage, I go, sometime I'm going to sabotage your career and I'm going to steal your fucking crackers. I'm like, you're not going to know how to close a show.
No, you won't. How are you going to eat and do that bit?
I know. It's a very funny bit, but
I say full circle because he headlined last night.
Yeah.
And I got to host. And so that was the first time that we've done a show together here. And he was the first person I remember from that whole night.
Sure.
And what was weird is I went home. Not weird, I guess, but I just started writing in a notebook.
Oh,
I didn't even know I had all this stuff in my head.
Interesting. So it wasn't like you didn't know. It wasn't like you spent all this time like secretly. I think I want to be a comedian. You're
Not
just
really,
like,
no.
Yeah. I mean, you're a creative guy. You work for an ad agency, correct? Like
Yep.
You're in a creative. So it's like being in music. Like so, being creative was no. You're no stranger to that.
No, not at all.
But-
or even performing. I mean,
Sure.
Growing up, I loved the arts, so I was doing magic and ventriloquism and juggling, and then started to play music. So I've been in front of people.
Sure.
But not like this, not
Yeah.
by yourself.
I'm glad you're not juggling anymore. Actually, no. I'm sad you're not juggling. I'm glad you're not doing magic. And I'm really glad you're not doing ventriloquism. You should think about the juggling, though. I like a little juggling.
I do too. And one time I had a chat with somebody. This is a few years ago, and we were getting to know each other. And I was like, "Yeah, I grew up doing a bunch of nerdy stuff." And I listed the same things.
Yeah.
And they stopped me and they said, "You were into the arts."
That's a,
And I was like, "Oh yeah." I mean, because I've always said like I was
Yeah.
into dorky stuff, but now I'm like, "Oh, was into the arts," and it actually helped me talk to my kids a little bit better about
Oh,
stuff
interesting.
they're interested in. Now I don't go like, "That's kind of." I was into dorky stuff too. I go, "Oh, it's fun. You're very creative, and you're into the arts."
and it is kind of true. And of course, a musician, that's like no one's gonna. Everyone's like, with music, yeah, that's an art.
Yeah.
But with juggling, ventriloquism, I think it's just a loathed art.
Sure. Oh, 100%. And I wanted to try all the things because
Yeah.
I didn't know what I wanted to
Sure.
do.
It's like I want to do something, but like
Yeah.
I've been throwing these balls around and that's not working.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I did a magic trick and it was neat, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And
I rode a unicycle for a while, but now I don't anymore. But this is wonderful. This
Sure.
is challenging and exciting. So I went home, I started writing, and it was just all BS, and I didn't know what I was even doing. But I was hooked at, as far as coming to see open mics.
Sure.
And I asked around. I was like, where are all the open mics? And for about 3 months, I think I tried to go to as many as I could just to watch.
So you kind of haunted the open mics.
But I wasn't studying them.
Right.
I was just soaking in.
You're like, oh, I want to watch these. I
Yeah.
like watching these guys try
Loved
this
it.
stuff out and watching new people work on jokes.
100%. It was fascinating to me.
Sure.
And then the first 3 minutes I ever tried was I signed up some weeks in advance at the Joke Joint. They had Sunday night open mics.
Yeah, and they would book their early mic spots. Obviously, if Chad Daniels or somebody walks in, they just do
Yep.
a spot. But
Yeah.
if you were newer, I liked that they would tell you we have a spot for you. It'll be 4 weeks from now or
It was,
whatever. It's like, but
yeah.
you would get that spot. Like
Yeah.
some mics, work differently. It's hard to get on. And you're like, well, I know I'm going to be doing this show.
Yep. It was October that I signed up, like early October.
Sure.
Raleigh Weld was running the
Raleigh
open
Weld.
mic. Yeah. And she was like, I got this early November spot for you, 3 minutes. And I was like, ugh. So for 4 weeks, I was
Yeah.
sweating 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And now, it's like we don't even know how to say hello in 3 minutes. And we get
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's not enough time for
How am I
anything.
going to sell merch?
Right.
I have seen people sell merch in a 3-minute spot at the Acme Open Mic.
I
by the
have
way.
too, yeah.
I every time I'm always like, supreme hustle, my
Yeah.
friend. Supreme
Usually
hustle.
out of towners, or I don't know.
Usually like out of vanners. I think these are mostly these are
got
people who
it.
just like roll into town and try to sell some DVDs, and
Yeah.
then there was a guy, and I won't say his name because I think he's still alive. He was selling DVDs after his regular performances. I worked.
You
with
only
him.
talk bad about the dead? Is that what I
Yeah. I'll say all kind of mad shit about the dead, but this guy's still kicking. He might find out about it.
Sure.
He's a very nice man. He's a very nice person.
Yeah.
But he was selling DVDs after his show. Like, hey, if you like my show, you should buy my DVD. This is back into the physical media days. You
Yeah.
know. And he recorded me live at Acme. I remember thinking like, this guy recorded a DVD at Acme. He was selling a DVD they were $1. They were $1. It was 3 minutes.
Okay.
He had recorded his 3-minute open mic set and was selling it as a DVD. So someone would buy this. It would take you longer to put it in and hit the menu and hit play and sit down. And then it's just like, hey everybody, how's it going? Well, that's my 3.
That's my time.
Maybe he ran a slide. He did 316 or 15 or something. And I just remember being like, that's madness.
I'd love a DVD. Of
Why
somebody's
didn't I
3
buy it,
minutes that
Jeff?
got cut off.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, why didn't I buy it? I look back on that, like, it was $1. I could still own that DVD. We could watch it later.
That's amazing.
I would have watched it so many times.
Oh my god!
Why
So
did I-
that was
yeah.
that's kind of my beginning arc.
Sure.
Was here got me
Yeah.
interested, and then just hanging out in all the rooms got me brave
Sure.
enough to try these 3 minutes, and that was really surreal.
And
for
so
me.
then, were you pretty attuned to the contest? Like, did you know the contest was coming up, and that was the Acme? Oh, you didn't. I
No.
mean, like, once you started doing stand up, like once you were in it, like by January, February, were you like, oh, the Acme contest is coming up? People are interested. Or
Actually, I think I got distracted with a different contest in Bloomington.
Oh, sure.
And that was a wild year. That was like an Isaac Whitty one year.
Yeah.
And then after that year,
they changed the rules.
they were like, "Oh, people that have been paid to work here before probably shouldn't be in
Well,
the
it was funny
contest."
because, and in fairness to him,
Yeah.
the contest rules at the time, it was called the funniest person with a day job contest, but
Yeah.
they didn't. Speaking of talking about it, he's still alive,
Yeah.
and I like it, but it's funny. Like, they never accounted for, like, what if you fuck up so bad you still have a day job? Can you do the contest? Okay, like, here's the thing: if my wife divorces me, I will definitely need contest money. So like, what I will
Yeah.
sign up for any. I'll do this contest. I'll fucking host the podcast and interview myself. I need that $1,000.
I have to tell you this: the night he won, we both went out in the hallway.
Were you in the finals?
Yeah, I made it to the finals. Okay, so me and
So
Mike
it's you
Lester.
and the guy who's been on David Letterman.
I know. So me and Mike Lester, who started around the same time, so we were both like just a few months in,
Sure.
are in this. We made it to the finals, and we were like, we have to write new material to fill the time. Like that's how new we
Yeah,
were.
well, yeah, Lester was like 17 and a half years old or
Oh my
something.
gosh, it was wild. And then it was like Gus Lynch and Wendy Mayberry and Isaac Whitty. And Isaac won, and I remember talking to him after the show out in the, on the 4th floor at the mall there, and I was like, hey, congrats. And he goes, it's crazy about this funniest person with a day job thing. I just found out today that I got let go from my day job. And then he won that contest, of course, because he.
He's an amazing comic.
Amazing.
But I've always defended him on that because some people are like, we should have entered that. I'm like, I mean, them's the rules.
Yeah.
That
and
was
then
the
they changed
rules.
because of that.
Yeah.
So I was distracted by that.
Yeah.
And
That's why I like the rules of this contest, by the way. They're so clear. It's
Yeah.
like, have you ever been paid to do comedy? Fuck off.
Yeah.
But also it's very clear, and it's so and I've talked to Lewis about this before. That's why it doesn't get bigger as it goes. That's why it's 3 minutes every round.
Right.
Because one time I asked him, why don't we go to like 5 minutes or 7 minutes? He's like, no, it's an amateur contest.
It is, yeah.
It's like, I don't want to sway it toward people who've been trying to be pros. It's for people who are trying it out and
Yeah.
learning and just started.
I'm going to admit something to you, and whoever else hears this, that after I signed up for the contest, I think I did a spot somewhere, right before I did either the first round or the
Sure.
semifinals, where they handed me like $10 afterwards, and I got so nervous about it. I even asked somebody. I was like, I'm doing this. Can't ever been paid for comedy contest
Yeah.
before, kind of thing, and they were like. Just shrugged it off. They're like, "You got $10. Congrats, buddy. Have fun at the contest."
Yeah,
And I
we'll
was like,
call it 2 drink tickets.
That's right. I was like, "Oh no, do I have to kick myself out of the contest?"
I turned down a $50 check. So
Oh, there you go. Good. All right.
But yeah, it was at a club. It was like people are gonna know. I don't know. But I was
That's
like,
what I thought.
I was also so far. I was like, I waited so long to do the contest that I was just like, I'm gonna do this contest. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna get kicked out. I thought I was gonna win, of course, because
Sure.
I didn't want people to go back and check the receipts if I won. Right? They're like, you
Right.
worked at this club, and so. But then as soon as I lost, I was like, I'm fucking getting paid as soon as I can. Like, bring me to the MC spots.
I don't know how I heard about this. Probably I just saw
Oh,
it
just
like
around. I mean, everyone talks about it. You
Yeah.
know, among the new crew, everyone asks, "When's your night?" or "Who won?"
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like that's why I went. But some people like see it coming. Some people are like aware it's on the horizon and are like working toward it.
sure. Yeah.
And then some people are just like, "Oh, I saw a box out front. You could put my name in." I saw an email. I sent my email. in.
Yeah, or a flyer,
Mm-hmm.
above the urinal.
A few people have told me they actually signed up because they saw this podcast.
Oh, awesome.
Or from the last year, yeah, from the last year to the.
Oh, so this
from the first
really
year.
actually gets put out to the public?
Yeah, people actually see it. I know.
You don't just put this on a DVD that
I
you
send
sell
it to,
after.
I send it to my mommy
That's
because I'm mommy's special boy.
absolutely.
Yeah, my mom does watch them all. That's why I feel bad when I swear.
Stop charging her for the DVDs.
I got to make money somehow.
Yeah, yeah,
Otherwise, I
I
have to get a day job. So the contest. So you're doing 3 minutes. Were you pretty? How did you feel going into it? You're like, having done another contest and done kind of well.
Yeah.
Were you like feeling pretty confident?
I was feeling pretty confident, and I think Mike Kaplan was the headliner that week, and so then I was just like, oh my gosh, that's like somebody to chase.
Yeah.
And
what a writer!
Oh my gosh, such a good writer. And I was going into the 3 minutes pretty confidently. Won the night. Found out I was going to the semifinals. Was excited about that. But I did completely different material for the next round.
Interesting.
Because
did you think you needed to, or you just wanted to?
Both.
Okay.
Well, I'm not sure that I thought I needed to, but I suspected maybe that might be nice.
Sure. Of course, it literally doesn't matter because the same people don't see it.
Right. That's what I found out afterwards.
Yeah.
And then I even changed I look a little mad scientist-y now, and I kind of did then too.
Sure.
But every summer, for however long I could remember, I would shave my head and my face and just grow it all back.
Yeah, you would kind of go from like GQ Frankenstein to GQ Travis Bickle.
Absolutely. Yeah, minus the mohawk. And that's the GQ part.
That's right. You did used to do I forgot about that.
And I did it. So I just shaved down, and then I did new material for the semifinals, and everything about that made me feel, I think, just uncomfortable.
Interesting.
And just didn't feel great after that set, and didn't move on. That's semifinals is as far as I got.
Sure.
Which is great, but also I was kind of kicking myself for like, well, not that how I looked was part of the funny, but sort of it was part of the funny. It's like how I felt comfortable on stage, and then I changed everything about myself, which I had done before. But also I'm like, and now I'm trying different material.
And the different material thing that's a lot of new to throw in.
It is
to that.
In fact,
plus, here's the thing that you can't do this shaving your head anymore, because at this point, at our age, that hair is a flex. There's so many people who would love to be able to grow hair that does that. Like, you can't shave that. That's a crime.
No. And then the
Flaunt
famous, Mike Brody joke where he's like, I shaved it, shit didn't grow back.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh no. Exactly. So I got to be careful.
Yeah. Keep the coif.
Yeah. And of course, this was, 13 years ago? I don't remember what I said on stage.
Right. You don't remember any of the jokes or material at all?
I don't think I do.
I mean, what's sad is that I do remember one or two of mine because I still do them. I say that. One of the jokes that I did in my contest set, I did on Ferguson.
Oh yeah, well,
there was but I don't do it. I haven't done that in years. It's my old funeral director joke or whatever.
Sure.
But
that makes sense because you work so many years to get just the right stuff for a TV spot.
Yeah.
And then maybe you can sort of retire it after that or whatever.
Yeah, but I think I might have been doing World's Saddest Petting Zoo at the contest. I don't remember when I came up with that. I think there was like one
That's such a solid joke.
I know, I still do it. I try not to do it too often, but it's like it's so short. I'm just like, all right, I'm doing it.
Why not? I do years old jokes too because you have to. It's just like, well, sometimes you have to pivot to a particular audience because it's like, oh well,
right.
Maybe I'll win you back with this because I know it's worked 80 to 100 times before,
or 8,000 at this point.
Right,
Jesus Christ! I've told that joke so many times. But it's kind of when I'm in a new market, like, I've never played Phoenix before. Bring out the petting zoo jokes.
Yeah.
I mean, now with unfortunately to some degree now with with clips and stuff being so much, it's a little harder to do that. It used to be like before, unless you've done it on a TV set.
That's why I haven't put clips out.
I don't blame you. I mean, that's
I'm
the
just
big debate.
Oh, I don't know that I want to do this because sometimes I'll go to a completely different state and place, and there's somebody there that needs to see me for the first time, and I'm like, I guess I got to pull out all these old.
Sure, I mean that's the big
pieces.
debate among it's like you got to get clips, you got to get social media attention to get booked, but then how much material do you just put out there for free?
Sure.
I heard this was like one of those things that is true because the person like volunteered this information and had no reason to lie.
Yeah.
It was like a regular human civilian, and they found out what I did for my job. It was like a friend of my wife's, and they said that, I really like stand up, and then they go, well, and I was like, well, what was the and she said, my favorite comedian, and she named a very, very prominent comedian, a very good comedian.
Yeah.
She said, I went to see this person, and they were great, but it was like watching their Instagram for an hour. They're like, I'd seen every joke in 30-second increments. They were like, I don't know that I saw that many new jokes. I'd seen their Instagram so much, I'd memorized them. And so they were like
Oh.
really disappointed with the live
Sure.
performance. And this was like a theater act. This is a big act.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, that's a real pitfall,
Yeah.
which people try to get around by doing all the crowd work clips, but I find those disgusting.
I do too.
I find those just
Well, and then to
tiresome.
hear stories about how sometimes people now will just do a full show to get one good clip.
Yeah.
And it's all crowd work. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, so 40 minutes of not great material, and then, but you found a couple minute
Yeah.
good clip.
And they try to instigate crowd work, but,
Like, you're not-
my thing is that really bothers me, because what bothers me about people thinking like that is that crowd work is supposed to be for the audience. We're supposed to be serving the audience. Like, they are the ones we're trying to entertain, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the job. You're now making them a prop for your thing.
Yeah.
They're just a prop. They're a tool. They're
Sure.
like, they're not even, you're like dehumanizing the audience. This is like, I just need you to be here to say something for my glorification or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're already doing enough of that business. It's
Yeah.
not like it's a humble business.
No.
But to like completely ignore the people in the, it's perfectly actually, I think, metaphorical for like what you see happen in life, which is you're ignoring the human beings in a room for possible human beings in another room somewhere else. It's like
Yeah.
the equivalent of being on your phone at a party or at a
Absolutely.
restaurant.
Yeah.
You're like, be here, be present.
Uh-huh.
It's like people wonder why they have so much anxiety. It's like, because you're never anywhere.
Yeah.
You're always somewhere else.
Absolutely.
There's no way that's good for you.
Yeah, I don't even
This
like
has been the Transcendental Hour with Henry David Thoreau. I'm Ralph Waldo Emerson, and
and now we're all going to take a moment to just really be present with
yes,
each
yeah.
other.
Not, by the way, very few podcasts you get a Hal Needham stunt reference and a Henry David Thoreau Transcendentalist
I
reference.
hope your listeners appreciate that. I'm sure three
Listener.
of them might. Yeah, listener, of course.
Lewis is going to be like, Hal Needham. What was he
What
talking
was it?
about?
Okay, now I gotta Google something. This is awful. I mean, I'm not afraid to interact with the audience, but that's not my goal. I do
Yeah.
really like to be present. Last night was a great example. I mean, we had a really great crowd that was super, like, they were leaning in.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to like soak in all the stuff and just like really be there for them. And sometimes you're somewhere else.
Oh, yeah.
But like I felt very present last night. But that's also I have new relationship energy with Acme.
Yeah. Plus, the lighting. I mean, the lighting and everything here is so perfect because,
Yeah.
like, you really can see people better than people would think. But when you're in the audience, you feel completely in the dark.
It's wild.
But you can
Yeah.
really see. I think 4 or 5 rows deep at least. Like, you can really see people.
Yeah, before it's just shaped.
Because it's like all these lies here. Everything. It's just enough. And when you're in the audience, you feel like you're completely anonymous.
100%. And when you sit in the back, it's a sea of dark until you
Yeah.
see the stage, and it's a neat illusion.
Yeah,
I like that.
But it
a
makes
lot.
crowd work, or just like you really can vibe with the audience because like you can see like 100 people basically in a ring around you.
Yeah.
Really, some clubs it's too bright, but then some
Yeah.
places, most places really, it's just kind of like the spotlights in your eyes. And
Right.
I had I was doing a theater this weekend, not headlining obviously, but I was doing a theater this weekend and.
I know. I was
They
there.
put you got there late. It was
Yeah.
a different theater. It was the night before.
Oh, I got it.
They do the handicap seating up front
Yeah.
in the theaters because there's like the big open space, right? And then sometimes they'll put folding chairs if they don't sell. They don't need the handicap spaces. Well, at this particular time, the only thing I could see was the front row. So I walk out on stage and it's just 20 people in wheelchairs in the front, and
Yeah.
that's all I can see. So from my perspective, it's essentially like I'm performing for like 1,000 people in wheelchairs. Like, I mean, I think there's people not in wheelchairs behind them, but I have no proof of that. And so they're having a good time.
Oh, that's amazing.
So it's
Yeah.
literally I was doing the world's most specific corporate.
Sure,
You
yeah.
know, it's like
Yeah, opening line. I usually get a standing ovation, but I understand. yeah, that's wild, man.
Better cup the hopscotch bit I was going to do later.
I have a friend that just told me they accidentally bought handicap accessible seats for a concert.
Oh, I never thought about you. Probably could you could
He didn't know,
do
and
that.
he went there with his wife,
Oh,
and
I
they
would feel like
sat
such a
down and they were like,
jerk.
"Gosh, these are amazing seats."
Yeah.
And then like the concert started and like people started standing up and he almost started to stand up and his wife was like pointing at who they were sitting with and he was like, "Oh no," and had to just kind of like sit for the show.
Oh, I would be. It's like a Curb Your Enthusiasm
It
thing. I'd
was
be so
I
mortified.
know. It's like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry." And did you enjoy the show? And he was like, barely.
Yeah.
Like I did, but also like I
never
couldn't
thought about
enjoy it
that.
the way I normally
Like,
enjoy it.
you don't have to show up. You have to have a pass to hang on your car to park in the grocery store
Right.
parking lot, right?
Yeah.
But never thought about when you're buying concert tickets. What are you going to send in proof?
Yeah.
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 Oh God, that would be. Oh, I would just. Yeah, I would just. I'd be so mortified. I would feel so bad. And then just to think, like, oh my, did someone else not get to go to this show because I clicked on the wrong thing?
Yeah.
Oh.
And he's not a horrible person. And I'm like, well, you got that going for you.
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
Oops, one oops.
Yeah, at least you feel. If you didn't feel bad, you're like, well, you should probably run off a cliff. You're probably a monster.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you do? You only did the contest once, by the way, right? Did you do a second time?
This one?
Yeah. Did
No,
you?
I only did the one time.
Right. Yeah. Because
yeah.
you started like working after that. Like, I mean,
I got pretty lucky. Yeah, people were
MC
like
spots and stuff
MC
like that.
spots, and I think it probably started featuring earlier than maybe I normally
Well,
would have. I mean,
I think there's a real advantage to starting a little bit older.
Yeah.
Late 20s, early 30s, or whatever, which is that you have more stuff to talk about.
absolutely.
It's like easier to come up with. You've got like more experience, more crazy stories,
Yeah.
and more people that you know.
Well, I had a couple kids already
Yeah.
too, and a third one on the way at the time. I have 4 now, but even just like the years of like, I was the guy that talked a lot in between songs. If somebody broke a string on stage when we were playing in the band, and
Sure.
like, yeah, it's like, oh, we got to fill some time.
Sure.
And I just like to interact with the crowd and
Yeah.
stuff. But it was different because I was behind my instrument.
Oh yeah.
I was with others on stage, and those first 3 minutes I did at the joke joint, surreal, dude.
Yeah.
Remember being John Malkovich?
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I got up on stage, I saw hands and a microphone in front of me, I could hear a voice,
Yeah.
and then when I got off stage, I like fell into the field, back in my own
Yeah.
body, and that's exactly how it felt. I was
That's
like,
a really
"Oof."
interesting description of that.
It was such a bizarro feeling.
It is. I mean, sometimes you ever get that. I get that sometimes where I'll catch myself thinking about other things on stage
yeah.
while I'm on there, and then it is a little bit like being in your own. That Malkovich feeling where you're like, my mouth's doing what it needs to be doing, my hands are,
Yeah.
as far as the audience can tell, I'm doing the thing, but like I need to get back in the
Yeah.
in the brain here. I'm too
Absolutely.
like distance.
But then you have to do that math too, because as you're wrapping up a thing and you're taking in data from the show and people, you got to figure out if that next thing is really the next thing you want to do,
Right.
or if there's a different connector, or if you want to
someone's
pivot off.
talking. There's a check drops going on. Oh, maybe I should do a couple short jokes before I start my closer.
It's
'cause people are
weird.
doing math right now. Like you have to be able to pull away.
Yeah.
But the danger is if you do it too much, then
Yeah.
it's just really mechanical.
And
blah
then you're
blah
not
blah
listening,
blah blah,
yeah.
and you're not listening. Yeah, it's like. But you're right though. If you were in a weird way, if you were 100% present, you couldn't do it.
No. Well, and then a mutual friend of ours has been doing this forever.
Mm-hmm.
I remember talking to him one time about how he churns out so much new material every year, and he was like, somebody asked me years ago after a show, what were you thinking about during your closer? And he was like, I don't know what I was going to eat in the hotel room after the show. And they were like, I could tell. And it affected him so deeply that he's just like, I have to be in the moment. I have to be present. I have to keep churning out new stuff so I can be right there with everybody and not coasting on
Because when you're doing new
autopilot.
stuff, it's really hard to do that. Even
Yeah.
for a very experienced comic, when
Yeah.
something's new, there's that it turns on a little part of your brain of like focus. Like Mikey Winfield told me this great advice. I've told this advice to a bunch of new comics.
Yeah.
He said every single time you do a show, do something new.
Yeah.
So it could just be one new thing.
Yeah, sneak it in the middle or something.
Sneak it in the middle, because that one new thing, you'll be better because you're building up to it. You'll be knowing it's coming. You'll be thinking about it. You'll be kind of excited. You'll be trying to polish everything up so that the new thing can sing.
Yeah.
You'll do the new thing. You'll have to focus. It's new. You'll have to try to remember what you're saying. And then afterwards, the energy of that will carry you through to the end of the show.
Yeah. I love new bit energy.
Yeah.
And so to sneak something in at a real show is exciting for me. And I've heard that from a couple other people too, similar versions.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Especially when you're doing longer sets where it's like, you got plenty of time, like do a joke in the middle.
Yeah.
If it doesn't go well,
It doesn't matter.
fine. No one will remember.
No one will remember. Yeah.
Which is kind of a blessing and a curse. No one remembers how well the middle of the show goes.
No.
Did you start well? Okay. Did you
Yep.
end well? Okay. Well, then you're fine.
Yep. Story of my life. Or we'll see. It's not
Yeah,
over
yeah,
yet. Yeah.
So so then you just kind of kept working in town
Yeah.
after the contest, and just kind of sort of a steady rise. I feel like you started. Was it maybe because your kids got a little older? I feel like I started seeing you out gradually more and more. Not that you're around plenty, but you became like a real like, oh, you're gonna see Jeff at 3 mics a week, 4 mics a week every week.
Well, as people started offering me a little bit of work,
Sure.
I quickly realized, I can't just pop in for a mic every once in a while.
Yeah.
And quickly learned that you have to kind of hit the gym,
Yeah.
multiple times a week to make it so you don't feel like a flop. On stage.
Even if first off, for me, the new material, you got to do mics to generate that.
Absolutely.
I don't know how people don't. If they don't, some people don't go to many mics. I'm like, I gotta.
Yeah.
But also just to weirdly even running old stuff. If you haven't, just that machine gets a little rusty faster than you would think.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, it's true. This place, I mean, they've been so good to me at Acme that, I should have brought it just to show you because you would laugh, but I have a 3-ring binder of all the lists. And I've been on the stage hundreds of times.
So is it only the ones you got up?
Only the ones I got up, and it's like this.
I was gonna say it's got to be really. You're not the only person. Tommy Ryman used to keep all the lists, and Eric Allen also used to keep all the lists.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. And I don't know where I was going with this. Oh, other than there was a point in time where all of a sudden I realized I just need to start churning. I got to write new stuff, and sometimes it was just on the drive here. I'm like, well, here's something I got to get comfortable just playing with a whole new, fresh idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to think I need to get all the words right, and now it's like, well, here's a prompt.
Sure.
And let's see how it goes. Which is, that's
you have some idea where you're going. I have an angle on this. I have a thought.
Yeah.
But that's as far as you. Yeah.
And to have an opportunity here, hundreds of times to just fart around with new stuff was just so cool.
Yeah.
And now we're sitting here on the stage.
Yeah.
I'll never not be fascinated by hanging out here.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. I mean, I've been working here for 12 years now.
That's awesome.
I still last night I was like, well, I'm near Acme. I might as well come down.
Yeah. That's
always.
Good. Someday I'm gonna have one of those.
Oh
shirts.
yeah. Gotta work the New Year's. I've only have the one, so I've been wearing it. I wear it for. It's funny. I realized I wear it for every episode because I felt like some continuity or something. But then I realized now it looks like I just don't own clothes because there's 3 years of podcasts of me always wearing the same hoodie. But I like the continuity.
I saw Lewis the other. This was last month when I was working here. And he was wearing a cool version of that, and I was like, "What size is that? I'll give you $20 for it." And he was like, "No way, dude. What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know." He's like, "You gotta
30.
You gotta wait. You gotta wait." Yeah.
30.
I was like, "Okay,
start the bidding."
Yeah. Oh man.
He's got a number. I guarantee you, there's a number. It might be really high though.
It might be.
Really high.
Yeah. Or I'm just patient and I wait, and maybe on a
he'll leave it on a chair.
Yeah. The little post-it, my name misspelled.
Oh no. I mean, he'll be hot. And take it off.
Oh.
So, any advice for future contestants?
Maybe find your 3 minutes and stick with it if you move on. Don't change it. I did that at that other contest, that funniest person with the day job. And I did a whole brand new bit I'd never said out loud.
Oh, that's such a bad idea.
At the finals.
Yeah, that's such a bad idea.
Because I was like, I'm going to challenge myself. What?
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. And it felt so wrong.
Sure.
And then I kind of didn't learn my lesson. And then some months later, I'm here. I'm like, I'm just going to do nothing. It wasn't brand new, but it was like, I'll just do a different set. I was like, well, that's not the strong set that you got into the semifinals. Yeah, you
probably picked the reason that you picked the first 3 minutes. It was your best 3 minutes.
Yep. Could have done that again.
I don't
know. I get squirrely and bored, and I'm like, I'm going to try something different.
Sure.
Dumb.
I mean, it's a good impulse in almost every other aspects of comedy.
Right.
It's a great impulse. It's the one time you should not do that is audition sets, TV sets, and contest sets.
Yeah.
Every other time.
Well, with everybody that is just at amateur level, because of the rules of the contest when they come in, it just makes sense to find the 3 minutes and don't change whether you make it to the finals or not. Just crank out those 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Be consistent. And because there's too many other things you're thinking about and worried about. And I mean, even years later, there's too many factors involved to know if a show is going to go well or not.
Right.
And so I guess that was the lesson I learned. And that would be my piece of advice. the other stuff would just be too generic, like remember to have fun out there,
Yeah,
and, all that other
right.
stuff. But find your 3 minutes and stick with it.
Yeah, and honestly, that some people don't learn that lesson in terms of like that applies to once you're trying to do professional comedy. Know your 5. And Pete Lee gave me that advice. He says, always know what your best 5 minutes is at any point in time, and be ready to. He's like, imagine that like at any night, the booker for a major festival or a show could walk in and be like, I'm scouting tonight. I want to see your tight 5.
Yep.
And it's like you always just be able to go up and know like this is the best stuff.
Yeah,
because sometimes you are gonna be in a contest and you're gonna need, or a festival or something. They're gonna give you 5 minutes and you're like nail it.
Yeah.
Don't be like, well, sometimes this works. I think I'll try this new thing.
And I don't know what else I would say about the contest for people that are gonna jump into it. I think I remember I invited a couple of people I knew to see it that I was comfortable with. But I don't know. I guess if you're comfortable with people seeing you, invite them along. If you're not, you're like kind of unsure about it. It's like, don't tell them about it.
I would.
Sneaky
That's great advice. Don't. Yeah, you're right. Because if it's somebody, if you're like, my best friend is always supportive, and I know he's going to think this is great, or you any kind of thing like that, or you some buddies in comedy that you've made, some open mic buddies that want to, those are good people to support you. But like, you're not gonna. So you're not going to pack the crowd with like 10 family members, and that's going to put you over the top. Because that's one thing I can tell you as somebody who's judged the contest many, many times. I can totally tell when it's like a joke kind of half hits around the crowd, but there's one little pocket that's just like, yeah. It's like, I'm not going to factor that into the audience.
The neighborhood, neighbors and the cousins. Oh, man.
Yeah.
That was the best joke I heard all night.
Because audience response is part of is one of the criteria for the contest, for the judging forum, but I don't count that. No. You got to make the whole crowd laugh. It can't just be your little pocket.
Yeah.
But I think you're right that can have a backfire, and that not only is you're not going to like stuff the crowd to the point where like it's just not going to happen. It's not going to make you win. But more importantly, if you're really uncomfortable, if it's weird having like your parents and a bunch of people, it might make you worse.
I think it might. Yeah.
There's no shame in doing comedy pretty anonymously for a while. Like, don't tell people you're early open mics. Never tell people you're early. I'm doing a show. No, it's an open mic. Don't tell your friends.
Yeah.
Unless it's my mic that I'm running, in which case, tell your friends.
Tell your friends and have everybody come out all the time.
Yeah.
I find it. Well, let me say this. I like not telling a lot of people about shows these days, unless it's a real big deal, because it's kind of years in between that people that I know show up, and then they give me a little extra validation at the end. They go, that was all new to me. And most of the time I feel like I'm not writing enough, because even just some months old jokes feel too old to me. But when somebody comes and they go, that 45 minutes you did I didn't hear any of that the last time I saw you a couple years ago. I feel better. I'm like,
good. That's what should happen, right? Like,
I've been writing. I feel like I haven't been writing.
It's such a slow drip process.
It's like that's a little trick that I've been playing to kind of make myself feel like I'm progressing. And like I don't tell anybody, and then they tell me afterwards, like, "Oh, that's all new stuff." And I'm like, "Was it?"
When you start working regularly, you can't pretend like everyone's supposed to go to all these shows. You're like, hey, come see me at 9 different breweries next month.
Oh
it's
gosh,
like,
it's ridiculous.
There'll be people there. They'll laugh. I'll tell you when it's gonna be a big one.
Yeah. So I prefer people I don't know in the audience.
I prefer doing comedy for strangers always.
Yeah, it's delightful.
Strangers is who you're supposed to do it for.
100%.
It's nice that people come out.
It is. I love it. I love the support. But strangers are the best.
Yeah, and especially early on, I think that's a good, like, unless you think like people being there is going to help you.
I thought people there was going to help me. That was early on. So that funniest person with a day job contest. I pitched them an open guest list the year that I did it. I was like, I made it to the finals. I go, listen, don't give us a limit on guests that we can bring in.
I'll bring 50 people to this thing or something like that.
I brought 120 people to the contest.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and I was not a strong comedian. I've seen some of those old clips. I'm like, whew. Boy, did I think I was.
You're an open mic host dream. I just come with a caravan of audience members.
Oh my gosh! And then after that, I was like, I don't want anybody to ever come to a show again. But I do like it. It is.
Now
fun
it's
to get the
different. It's
support.
different once you've been doing it for.
Yeah, it is. But
What a difference a decade makes.
unbelievable. I go, you're gonna make so much booze, and it's like I got some good drinkers, and I sold them on the idea.
You probably did though.
Yeah, and the room was full.
Yeah.
And it felt good.
And they all got to watch you not win.
Absolutely. Yeah. They were like, hey, good effort. Yeah. 120 of my closest friends. Good try.
I'm just impressed you know 120 people.
Oh yeah. I hope they all brought dates. I knew half.
Sure.
of them.
So yeah, still 60's not bad with your plus ones.
Not bad. Yeah. I'm a very social guy.
Any other advice for future comics before we go?
No.
No, I don't have. I've dispensed most of my wisdom at this point.
Yeah.
What such wisdom as I have. At this point, I just have to make new mistakes to then tell people like, oh, I just made a new mistake. Don't do that.
I love it. Well, so how about this? Don't be afraid to tell other people in your peer group about the mistakes you've made. Like, because that, like even in my work life, it's like, I've failed so many times so that you don't have to.
Yeah, I call that an easy lesson. You know, something I learned the hard way. If your buddy screws up and you just don't do what your buddy did, that is an easy lesson.
Oh my goodness.
I love a nice easy lesson.
Well, if we're not talking about it with each other, it's like being hired here, nobody tells you anything, and so you either ask questions or you hope somebody's gonna kind of give you a little piece of advice or tell you about something, even if it's like where a light switch is. I just found out. There's a dial. There's a dial back there and a light that I didn't even know about until last night.
I tell you where the green room light switch.
Oh my God. It was dark back there behind this curtain last month, the whole week I worked. Last night I show up, there's a light on, and I don't even know. I'm touching it. I don't know how to turn it on or off. The curtain's open a little bit.
The light's coming through.
Chell's on stage, and I'm like trying to stand behind him, but I could see some people out here, and I'm kind of lit, and I'm like, this is maddening. And now I know. Because I asked, when I got here, I asked somebody, I go, is there a light switch? And they go, yeah, there's a dial on the wall. You know, like how normal light switches work. I'm like, okay, sorry. Share your failures with people.
Sure.
In your peer group so that you can learn together.
And I like to think that nobody has shared more failure than you.
Thank you. Thank you. The failure king, ladies and gentlemen.
And yet here you are.
Yeah, here I am. Yeah, it feels good.
All right. Well, Jeff, thanks again for coming out.
Thanks,
and come see Jeff. He's here all the time now.
I'm here all the time. You can't get rid of me until something bad happens.
Jeff Pfoser, thanks very much, buddy.
Thanks, Bryan.